Thank you so much, Ima. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank to the organizers of this event, HEDAYAH Center of Excellence, for having me here. And also I would like to thank the European Commission for their continuous support on PCV. And I would just like to tell something about just a little overview of NEXUS Civil Concept. This is a QR code for our website if you want to know more. So NEXUS Civil Concept was established in 2016, focusing on PCV and RNR in North Macedonia. So through our research, we assess the government's national action plans as well as the rehabilitation and reintegration programs, and we provide evidence-based analysis and practical recommendations. NEXUS Civil Concept also works with citizens, especially with youth and with women, as well as with institutional organizations and the other civil society organizations. We organize trainings, workshops, and community activities in order to increase their awareness, also to build their knowledge, and to build their skills for preventing radicalization of happening. NEXUS Civil Concept also facilitates a dialogue on security issues by organizing conferences, webinars, and public events when we connect different stakeholders for discussion, and we encourage collaborative solutions. So this is the outline of today's presentation. So we are going to talk about why this research, how we research it, and what we found, what are the key findings and changes that we have observed, and of course the recommendations or what should happen next. I will also, before we jump into the results, I will also like to give you a little brief on North Macedonia challenges to preventing and countering violent extremism. So our country has faced violent extremism challenges since 2012, when people from North Macedonia have been leaving the country and going to Syria's and Iraq's battlefields. So in total, officially, there were 143 adults, men and women. And by 2015, there were no other departures to these conflict zones. However, we faced another issue, the online recruitment. So many people, especially young people, were being influenced, and they have been radicalized through social media. From 2015, also, it is important here to note that some of the foreign terrorist fighters have begun returning to the country, but they are returning alone, so they were immediately being incarcerated. But after that, the focus of the national government, the National Committee for Countering Violent Extremism and Countering Terrorism, they changed their focus in repatriation processes. So from 2018, there was the first repatriation when 7 adult men were repatriated. And the last repatriation was in 2021, when were repatriated 4 men, 5 women, and 14 children. So the reintegration process became a focus of the National Countering Violent Extremism Committee and to our governments as well. And from preventing the radicalization to strengthen, they shift to strengthening the resilience of the communities. So, and especially in those areas from where these people were leaving the country, and when they were coming back in the country, they were again coming back in their own cities. So those areas were were also part of our research. It's places from some municipalities in Skopje, Tetovo, Gostivar, and Kumanovo. I don't know how much this is important for you. This is like more, let's say, the western part of North Macedonia. now, because we have returned children, they re-entered in the school, and that's why this focus shifted on that the schools were becoming central to the reintegration processes. So this means that there were many based PCV activities implemented in these areas. However, what we wanted here to see is how these PCV-based, school-based PCV activities were effective, how they have been, what has worked and what hasn't worked, and why this doesn't work. So these are the research questions that we have used in our research. For the previous when I was talking, so the research, why this research? The research aims to fill the gaps, the crucial gap, by assessing the impact of the school-based PCV initiatives and identifying the lessons that can inform stronger evidence-based policies and practices in the future. Our research looked at the school-based PCV activities in the period from 2018 to 2023 in the respective areas that I have mentioned before. So we wanted to see how these programs helped build resilience, what worked and what challenges they faced during their implementation. We examined if the activities encouraged critical thinking, respect for diversity, and conflict resolution. Also, we examined whether they aligned and with national priorities, with the national action plan of the National Committee for Countering Violent Extremism. We also looked at how schools, municipalities, civil society organizations, and policymakers worked together and identified the gaps and promising practices. So, in order to evaluate the initiatives, we applied and adopted OECD 7 criteria framework. We assessed the relevance, coverage, effectiveness, efficiency, coherence, sustainability, and the impact of the implementation of these school-based PCV activities. The research was conducted in 2 phases, and the first phase was to map the PCV activities, school-based PCV activities, in the selected localities, and the second phase was to collect the primary data from key stakeholders. So, the research engaged students, teachers, parents, civil society, and public institutions in order to get a full picture of the program's impact. So this is the field work and the results of the field work. From the first phase, we mapped 24 PCV, school-based PCV activities carried out by 16 civil society organizations across municipalities and reaching up to 55 schools. Most of the activities focused on resilience, online radicalization, hate speech, and violent extremism. And the key challenges that were included during the implementation of these activities was the limited access to the returnee children, limited information, online information, then low student motivation to participate in those activities, language barriers because of the different ethnicities living in this area, and funding constraints. And the main lesson that was took it out from these implementation activities is that the PCV works best when schools involve students regularly, when they use the activities use the engaging methods like social media, when they reach all schools, not just selected or some, and when ensure strong coordination and, of course, the follow-up activities. We conducted 52 in-depth interviews with civil society, municipal staff, policymakers, and school staff. We also conducted 8 focus groups with 29 students and with 27 parents, and combining these qualitative insights with 5-point Likert scale to understand what was achieving and why. So let's see what were the results and findings from the criteria that we have assessed. So regarding the relevance and design of the quality of school-based PCV activities, these activities were scored as generally successful, or 67%, showing a good alignment with the stakeholders' needs and policies, but they did not sufficiently engage participants, who mostly remained passive recipients rather than active contributors. This means that during the process of designing of these implementations activities, the teachers, students, parents, they were not part of the designing of these activities. The other criterion, the coverage, it was assessed as moderate or mixed success, with almost 48%. So although these activities targeted vulnerable regions and schools, the main beneficiaries were not informed or involved in addressing those local challenges. The other criterion, the effectiveness, was scored as outstanding, so almost 87% of the implementation activities for strengthening local capacities and collaboration among students, teachers, municipalities, civil societies, and parents. But these activities focused more on short-term outputs than lasting impact, with limited follow-up and support for teachers. The criterion for efficiency was assessed as moderate mixed success, little bit lower score, for almost 49%. And these implemented activities, although they managed to navigate implementation challenges, they struggled with low motivation among stakeholders, with limited municipal and financial support, some political changes, and students' reluctance to openly discuss sensitive topics. The criteria coherence and connectivity. This criterion was assessed very low, so around exactly scored only 22%. And this was mainly because different actors did not work well together. There was little trust between them, weak cooperation, and there was too much focus on doing many activities instead of building strong partnership in order to solve these problems effectively. Sustainability was also scored very low, around 29%, a low success. So these activities, while they helped improve intercultural understanding and critical thinking, their impact is not sustainable. And why? Because civil society organizations depend heavily on donor funding, especially when I'm talking about North Macedonia. And the final criterion, the impact, was scored around 52%, or moderate mixed success. These activities positively impacted parents and target groups by improving their communication, tolerance, and conflict resolution, but their effects were limited, not systemic, and dependent on external funding with weak local coordination. I forgot to tell you that the bottom right side of the presentation, there is a QR code that you can scan, and for those who want to know more, to download this presentation, the research. So, as every research, and ours as well, we give some recommendations. In order to strengthen the school-based PCV activities, it is very recommended to set up a strong coordination between schools, municipalities, civil society organizations, and online support, and policymakers. It is also very important to prepare an integrated curriculum, but with teachers' input, and to give them an online support, like online module curriculum, to provide ongoing teacher training and mentoring, and to further train them on early warning signs of radicalization, and of course to ensure the sustainable funding for civil society organization, which I can say that is very hard for this. And actively, this is very important, to actively engage the parents through workshops and online resources. Overall, the focus should be on coordinated, context-sensitive, and sustainable approaches involving schools, communities, and local institutions in order to maximize the impact. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'm delighted to answer.